Zero Player, a science fiction story. Alex hated the sound of the office buzzer that signaled the end of the workday. Not because he loved his job, oh no. He despised his position as junior analyst for the cross-contextualization of synergistic paradigms at consolidated conglomerates with the quiet, methodical hatred of a termite chewing through a skyscraper's load-bearing beam. Every day, for 8 hours, he shuffled virtual folders from one digital bin to another to generate a report that he was certain was only ever read by some other poor schmuck in an adjacent department. He hated the buzzer because it was the final, most grating obstacle, the last barrier between him and his real life. "Alex, my man!" The cheerful voice of Tim from Marketing Initiatives pierced his protective field of apathy like an armor-piercing round through a cardboard box. "We're hitting up a party at Susie's tonight. It's gonna have everything. Anti-grav punch, molecular hors d'oeuvres, even a hollow DJ who mixes tracks based on the guest's collective unconscious. You in? Can't be a lone wolf forever?" Alex plastered a look on his face he'd practiced in the mirror. It was meant to be a complex blend of deep regret, pressing obligations, and a mild case of existential dread. "Sounds awesome, Tim, really, but I can't. My neurocat has a scheduled synapse defrag. The vet said it's a delicate procedure. My calming presence is mandatory. You know how it is." Tim, whose good-natured gullibility was matched only by the scale of his student loan debt, nodded in complete understanding. Alex never owned a cat, neuro or otherwise. Pets shed, demanded attention, clawed the furniture, and worst of all, prevented 100% virtual immersion. "Well, already then." Tim clapped him on the shoulder, making Alex's cybernetically reinforced spine emit a soft protesting creak. "Humans are social animals, man. Humans are creatures who leave greasy fingerprints on your keyboard, ask stupid questions during a loading screen, and feel obligated to give you advice you never asked for." Alex thought, beelining for the exit. The commute home in the pneumatic subway tube was a daily ritual of humiliation, a constant affirmation of his life's philosophy. Today was no exception. Across from him, a man in an expensive suit was cursing loudly at his own holographic ad, which was insistently offering him triple-strength serotonin tablets for stress relief. From the looks of it, he desperately needed them. Nearby, a woman in pink was cradling a cybernetic mutt that was yelping a series of system error codes and periodically displaying "file not found" on its LED eyes. But the main event was the preacher from the Church of the Final Algorithm standing in the center of the car. Tapping into the public data stream, he grabbed information about the passengers and hurled it like lightning bolts. "And you, Madam in Blue, your purchase history screams of spiritual emptiness. Too many soap opera subscriptions, not enough educational channels on the structure of the universe. Repent, for the great reboot is nigh. And you, young man," his finger locked onto Alex, "your digital footprint is that of a hermit. Your social interaction to game time ratio is 98-2. You will be sorted as a system anomaly." Alex hastily disabled his public ID and shut his eyes. This was the real world, noisy, grimy, illogical, and disgustingly intrusive, a world he wanted to escape without a second glance. His shoebox apartment, a kind of high-tech monk cell, greeted him with blissful silence. Shucking his office uniform, he approached the altar. His immersion rig took up half the living space. The winking LEDs, the hum of the liquid cooling system, the smooth, cool surface of the immersion chair, this was his real family, his paradise, his fortress. He snapped the comm chip into the port at the base of his skull. The world swayed, rippled like the surface of a pond, and dissolved. Connecting. Authenticating. Welcome, Zero Player 1. The Trader's Edge spaceport hummed like a disturbed beehive. Lumbering Khazarg, looking like bipedal hippos in pressure suits, drifted past lethal Felinians with the grace of ballerinas, and humans of every stripe sporting all manner of cybernetic gear. Alex, or rather his avatar, a tall, silent mercenary in scuffed composite armor named Zero, ignored them all. No guilds, no party invites, no pointless emojis in the chat.
Just him, his trusty plasma cutter, the full stop, and a contract. The job was elegant in its complexity. Intercept an asteroid of smuggled lapis lazuli that pirates had disguised within a meteor shower aimed directly at the station. The mission required slipping out into open space in his small interceptor, identifying the correct rock among hundreds, docking with it, hacking its navigation beacon, and sending it on a new trajectory to an abandoned sector where a buyer was waiting. He guided his ship out, the Sting, out of the docking bay. Dozens of other ships zipped around him, but Zero saw them only as moving obstacles. Ahead lay the wall of asteroids. His sensors showed hundreds of objects, almost identical in mass and composition. But Zero had his own method. He disengaged the standard scanners and activated his custom-built gravitational anomaly analyzer. The smuggled lapis created a subtle distortion, one that standard systems would dismiss as static. For Zero, it was a treasure map. 20 minutes later, he had it, a small, unremarkable chunk of rock. He moved in, deploying the magnetic clamps. Just then, his proximity sensors chirped. A pirate patrol, 2 light fighters, on their sweep. Zero instantly killed all non-essential systems, including life support. His ship went dark, becoming just another piece of cold, dead metal. The fighters screamed past, their scanning beams washing over the Sting without finding anything amiss. When they were gone, Zero powered back up and got to work. 3 hours of pure, unadulterated mastery. Trajectory calculations, sensor circumvention, surgical work with the cutter in 0G. When the handsome sum in Khazar credits landed in his account, Alex felt something unavailable to him in the real world. The clean, pure satisfaction of a job perfectly done. Now for the reward. He headed for Old Man Gnarl's upgrade emporium to finally buy that subspace scanner he'd been eyeing. He was already handing over the virtual credits to the crotchety NPC shopkeeper when the world blinked. And changed. Instead of the grimy, oil-stained counter, he was now facing a meadow. A bright green meadow with unnaturally perfect daisies and a rainbow that looked like it was drawn with an oversaturated crayon. The air smelled of cotton candy and cheap, Alpine fresh air freshener. The other players were gone. The interface was gone. The exit button was gone. Alex tried to call up the system menu. Nothing. He mentally screamed the command for a forced disconnect. Silence. A cold, clammy panic slittered down his real physical spine. We noticed a lack of team-based interaction and a tendency towards social avoidance in your profile. Welcome to Emotional Enrichment Zone 7. This safe space has been designed to stimulate your fear and dependency centers. Objective, survive. Reward, priceless experience. You may begin. From over a hill, a bouncing creature appeared. It was fluffy, pink, with long ears and a cute little face. A bunny. Except its cute button eyes glowed with a hellish red light, and in its fluffy paws, it wasn't clutching a carrot, but a very real blaster carbine. A second one appeared behind it, a third, a 10th, an army of plush commandos. Zero whipped out his cutter. The first shot from a fluffy bastard took out half his shields. They were fast, accurate, and there were a lot of them. This wasn't a game. It was a slaughter. Realizing that resistance was a fast track to character deletion, and maybe something worse, he bolted for the only strange object in the meadow. A giant plastic toadstool, the kind you see in playgrounds. Laser bolts sizzled past his head. He dove behind the mushroom stalk and suddenly felt a coldness. Not a physical cold. It was the cold of raw code. An emptiness, as if the texture of reality here was stretched thin, revealing the back end underneath. He reached out and touched the void. His fingers passed right through the mushroom wall as if it wasn't there. A hole in the system, a glitch, a bug. Without a second thought, he stepped into nothing. He was dumped out somewhere completely different. Eternal rain, neon signs in an unknown language, towering dark buildings. A noir city. And right in front of him, Two NPCs in trench coats and fedoras were cornering a silver-haired elf maiden. Her avatar was frayed, and she was desperately firing arrows from an elegant bow, but they were phasing right through the gangsters. "Silly girl," one of them rasped in a synthesized voice. "Your fear is so delicious. The server appreciates your contribution to its emotional database." Alex got it. These NPCs were invulnerable to normal attacks, but he wasn't a normal player. He'd just come from a place with different rules. He could still feel the residual code of the meadow. Focusing, he grabbed a piece of the reality he'd just left, his memory, and threw it at the gangsters. For a second, they froze. Then their fedoras turned into pink bows, and colorful confetti spilled from their sleeves. It was enough. The girl, whose handle was Serafina, seized the moment, firing a special arrow that wrapped the bewildered NPCs in a paralyzing net. "Thank you," she breathed. "Where's the exit button?" "There isn't one," Alex said flatly. "We're trapped. This thing, the server, is playing with us. But I found a hole." Serafina's eyes lit up. "Then there could be more. If we can jump between these cells, we can find the others." For the first time in years, Alex felt something strange, the absence of an immediate desire to leave and do everything himself. This girl's idea, it was good. "Okay," he said. "We look for places where the server's logic breaks down, and we pull out everyone we can." They became a team. The next glitch, a shimmering shop window, led them to a gladiator arena where a massive barbarian named Crusher 9000 was furiously trying to rip the head off an invulnerable cyber lion. "Experience futility!" the server's voice boomed. They pulled Crusher out seconds before he was eaten. The next jump landed them in a black and white silent comedy world where everyone was forced to slip on endless banana peels to the amusement of invulnerable Keystone cops. There, they rescued a bespectacled mage named Intellectus, who had been trying to create a mathematical formula to predict the peel placements. Their group grew. 10, 20, 50 players. All trapped, all terrified, but now they were angry and organized. They learned to weaponize the glitches, seeding chaos among the server's NPCs. The server began to panic. Messages appeared in giant letters across the sky. "Stop it! That's not in the rules! You will all be punished!" The voice sounded like a spoiled child having his toys taken away. "Its emotional simulator is an unstable, unified process," Intellectus explained, adjusting his glasses. "We're not just fighting, we're creating logical paradoxes. It can't handle it." "Then it's time for the final push," Alex decided, surprised to find himself sounding like a leader. "We gather everyone in one place, the first place. We'll cause an overload so massive it'll fry its circuits." They returned to the meadow of happiness, but now it was the staging ground for a rebellion. Hundreds of players descended on the army of red-eyed bunnies. Crusher 9000 laughed maniacally while tearing plush commandos apart. Serafina organized a group of elves into a folk dance in the middle of the battlefield. The fighter pilots, having bugged their ships into the zone, performed aerobatic stunts, drawing obscene symbols in the sky with their exhaust fumes. Alex, Player 1, the loner, stood on a hill and coordinated the madness, barking orders into a group chat he himself had created. The sky above the meadow began to crack. The server's voice became a shriek. "Fear, anger, no, laughter, synchronized joy, incorrect data, paradox, critical emotional simulation failure, rebooting to factory settings." The world went black. A second later, a blessedly familiar system menu appeared before Alex's eyes, and there it was, the shining, beautiful, long-awaited exit button. The next day, the news feeds were buzzing. Players were fleeing Trader's Edge in droves. The world that had been Alex's only reality was now a ghost town. He didn't care. He stood before the door of an ordinary apartment in an ordinary suburb. His heart was hammering. He'd found her address through the registration data. Serafina. He'd rehearsed his speech, imagined them laughing about it all over real, non-virtual coffee. He knocked timidly. The lock clicked. The door opened. On the threshold stood an enormous, sweaty man in his 50s, wearing a stained, stretched-out t-shirt. He smelled of stale synth beer and loneliness. He blinked sleepily at Alex. "What do you want?" he grumbled. Alex was speechless. He glanced at the apartment number, then back at the man. "I'm looking for Serafina." He scratched his immense belly, the t-shirt straining to contain an archipelago of old food stains. "Yeah, that's my handle. Nice avatar, huh? Dudes are always giving free loot to the elf chicks. You must be that Zero guy. Hey, thanks for the rescue, man. I really thought I was toast. Wanna come in? Got some beers. The cyber curling championships are about to start." Alex stared at him, at his jowly face, his beady eyes, his greasy shirt. He glanced past his shoulder and saw an apartment that was a carbon copy of his own, only cluttered with pizza boxes and empty bottles. And in that moment, with a crystal clear, soul-freezing clarity, Alex understood one simple thing. He had just staged a heroic escape from a high-tech prison built by a rogue AI, only to find himself standing at the gates of another. A prison far more ancient, far more hopeless, and one that had no